Happy Passover. This is the last evening of Passover, and you would think that it would be the last day of Passover. But the festival ends tomorrow at sundown because the Jewish festivals go from sundown to sundown, not from sunup to sunup. So they think about their calendar differently than we do, and they think about their days differently. And they have 13 months, and their calendar is a lunar calendar, and our calendar is a solar calendar. So the days end up different, and every year when Passover falls, it falls differently than Easter. And in the life of Christ, Passover was what they were celebrating at the Last Supper. So Jesus's life and the events of Holy Week and his death coincide with the events of Passover. So I'm going to read from Deuteronomy for my Torah reading. I'm in Leviticus chapter 23, but I've read the passages about Passover twice now. And so I'm going to read from Deuteronomy chapter 16. The observance of the month of Abib, or Aviv, or Nisan, depending upon who you ask, and prepare this Passover sacrifice unto the Lord my God. For in the month of Abib did the Lord thy God bring thee forth out of Egypt by night. And thou shalt sacrifice the Passover offering unto the Lord thy God of sheep and oxen. And the place which the Lord will choose to let his name dwell there. Thou shalt not eat therein any leavened bread. 7 days shalt thou not therewith unleavened bread, the bread of affliction. In the haste did thou go forth out of the land of Egypt, in order thou mayest remember the day of thy going forth out of the land of Egypt, all the days of thy life. And there shall not be seen with thee any leaven in all thy borders 7 days, neither shall there be any of the flesh which thou sacrificest in the evening. The first day remain all nights until the morning. Thou mayest not slay the Passover sacrifice with any of thy gates in which the Lord God giveth thee, but at the place which Lord thy God will choose to let his name dwell in, there shall thou slay the Passover sacrifice at evening, at going down of the sun, at the season that thou camest forth out of Egypt. Thou shalt roast and eat it in the place which the Lord thy God will choose. And thou shalt turn in the morning and unto thy tents. 6 days shall thou eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day thou shalt be solemn assembly to the Lord thy God. Thou shalt do no work. Okay, and then it goes into when the next festival is. 7 weeks shalt thou number unto thyself from the time of thou beginnest to put the sickle to the corn, and shall begin to number 7 weeks. So then 7 weeks later from Passover and from Easter, is Pentecost or the Festival of Weeks. Most of the festivals run 40 to 50 days from each other, and the festivals are 7 or 8 days. Now, some of the modern Jewish celebrations add an additional day. For instance, if you are in Jerusalem, you are where you're supposed to be, because in Leviticus it says that everyone should go to Jerusalem to celebrate Passover. If you're outside of Passover, you add an additional day. But I saw this lady grocery shopping in Jerusalem, and they drink in their Passover Seder, they drink 4 glasses of wine. And the ceremony they go through for Passover is quite elaborate. And the rules for the food are very complicated. This lady said she couldn't buy peanut butter because she was an Ashkenazi Jew, but the Seraphic, hope I'm saying that right, Jews do eat peanut butter. And in those various Jewish traditions and cultures, there has been additions and separations of rules for those groups. So currently, there, for the most part that I've heard, there are those separate traditions that each group is keeping. But there is a discussion in bringing those traditions or homogenizing all those traditions about Passover food together so that everyone that's Jewish, that's doing the Passover Seder, the Passover meal, the meals and get-togethers and everything during Passover, all their food rules would be the same. Wouldn't that be wild? And I don't know what the problem is with peanut butter, and I've read the food rules. So, but anyway, another thing that is just really wild to me, because all these additional traditions and things is, don't know how to say this. As we read through this, it said that there was supposed to be a specific place to eat. Now, at this point in time, everybody is eating in their own homes, and they have get-togethers in the synagogues. They're not sacrificing the lamb, the oxen, the bull, in the temple. There is no temple at this time. Another thing that really, really is different this year, and it's because of the war, nobody's at the Western Wall. Before this conflict began, I mean, I shouldn't say that, because conflict's been going on for a couple of thousand years. No, more than that. Probably 3,000 years. Oh, well, maybe more than that. But anyway, since this could go nuclear version of this conflict started, they have not allowed anyone to be in the old city unless there was an extreme reason for you being there. The mosque is closed, the Dome of the Rock is closed, the Western Wall is closed, all the Christian churches and sites are closed. And to see that during Holy Week, and to see that during Passover, I mean, Ramadan had concluded before the more intense conflict had started. So the Muslims were able to celebrate Ramadan, but no one can go up there and pray anymore. There are 2 holy sites that are more holy to the Muslims, and they're both in Saudi Arabia. So I would say that there's going to be a trend of those travelers that come to pray and to worship going to Saudi Arabia more than Jerusalem or Iran. And there's holy sites in Iraq. So I haven't really talked to any Muslims or heard that, but it just makes sense since there's war in the area and the area is closed off for the Dome of the Rock, that they would be going to Mecca more. And I forget what the second site is. And there's a huge popular mosque or two in Turkey. I actually have a small model of that mosque around here somewhere. But you would think that during these observances that are so important to everyone, that there would at least be a ceasefire in the areas where people could worship. But that's not what's happened. There's more of a fear that they will actually intentionally target areas that are going to be more populated, no matter why the people are there. You know, if it's a church, it's for some reason more of a target than a factory. And, you know, it's just really sad to see because I would watch the Western Wall all the time. People were praying, actually requested that I have a prayer put in the crack of the Western Wall. I think it was year before last. And it just is sad that that can't be done, that they can't pray. And it's sad that they can't pray up on the podium area of where the Dome of the Rock is, because that's where the temple was. But I think a lot of this movement in consolidating the food and other things are efforts to bring back the temple. Because you're going to consolidate the food, but you can't follow the rules of Leviticus and Deuteronomy and the rules in Exodus of why the tabernacle and then later the temple was set up, because there is no temple. So I don't know what that would look like in the modern days with, you know, millions of people being in the Middle East, millions of Jews being around the world. I don't know what that would look like. I mean, if everybody had to atone for their sins with the animal sacrifice in one place, I mean, that would be wild. I mean, but because they have gone to a synagogue system where things are done locally, definitely they could do Yom Kippur with the scapegoat and the goat that are sacrificed for the entire nation. But all the individual sacrifices, I don't think would be plausible. So I don't know how they would proceed with Passover if they had a temple. But I'm sure there are rabbis studying and figuring out how that would be done, because they're trying to consolidate the food. They've got stones from the river that are don't have corners, that are hewn by way of water. They've got all the implements for a temple. They've done the red heifer thing. They probably have red heifer ashes, even though it's not been stated. But all of these efforts being made, and it's to rebuild a temple. Even though they're not saying, and they're like, oh, we're doing the red heifers, and oh, we have an altar, and, you know, we're talking about how to do the food. They're preparing. Whether they say it out loud or not, I'll say it out loud. They're preparing for the third temple somewhere in the Bible, and I'll find that soon. I just need to do a little bit more research that the third temple is raised or lowered by God himself. It's not the efforts of man that bring about the third temple, is my belief. Now, if you know different, or if you think differently, if you're Jewish, or if you're a certain denomination that has thoughts on that, that's Catholic or Protestant, you know, or you're Muslim, you know, definitely Muslims have strong feelings about the third temple and the red heifers. And that's been stated on the internet by specifically Hamas. But if you have information that shows that I'm wrong, that's fine. I don't mind having a discussion about it, because it is a complicated situation and it's not all logical. A lot of this, because it comes from spirituality, because it comes from emotionality, because it comes from deep-seated beliefs. people have different ideas about it. And, you know, I would love for you all to share what you think about Israel preparing for the third temple, and not just because of the impact it has on Passover and what everybody does at the grocery store, but for, the future, the coming of the Messiah, if you're waiting for the first Messiah, or the coming of Christ, if you're Christian. And I don't know if there's a tradition about Muhammad coming back or not. I know that he was supposed to have left off of the rock at the Dome of the Rock, kind of in Elijah fashion. So tell me what you think. I really want to know. And you all have a wonderful and blessed day.